Food is fun. Food is important. It's sustenance. But remember, food is our fuel. And we need to think about food, not just about celebrating with food, but also how we can use that fuel to better enhance what we're trying to do in our life.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Aging Rewired by Senior Planet from AARP. I'm your host, Sheila Solomon. In this episode, we're talking about health, nutrition, and using technology to find community on your wellness journey. We'll hear how participants in Senior Planet's most popular online offering, Morning Stretch, have forged a supportive community online, even referring to each other as family and making cross-country trips to visit one another in real life. But first, our guest, Dr. Ian Smith, is someone I've known personally and professionally for decades. Our paths crossed so often it's been said we were destined to meet. In fact, many of you will have come across his work as a reporter at NBC in New York, as a New York Times bestselling author of almost 30 fiction and nutrition books, and numerous appearances on the radio, and as a TV host, co-host, or guest on shows including The Doctors, Rachel Ray, and Good Morning America. Ian, with a career like that, plus your time as an orthopedic surgeon, let's not forget, how do you describe yourself?
Now I mostly write books. I make television appearances occasionally, not as much as I used to. I will go on the news and talk about topical issues, or I'll talk about whatever my latest book is. I am venturing more into writing fiction, particularly detective novels, which I've always loved. I have a series based in Chicago called the Ash Kane series. So I'm doing half medical health and half creative fiction. I'm really in a good place because I enjoy both immensely and they both reward me in different ways. So I just have a great career, great family. I'm just very happy.
Now you have a new book titled Eat Your Age. Love the title. How do you eat your age?
Sheila, I had this book idea about 3 or 4 years ago, and my editor at the time just didn't think it could be a book. She thought it was a long magazine article, and I protested profusely, but could not convince her that this was a worthy book, particularly as people were aging and living longer, and the need for, I told her, would only increase. The idea behind this book is that our bodies change as we get older. They change not just physically, but they change physiologically. That is, what's happening inside, how things are working. All these things inevitably change as we age. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to explain to people that as your body changes, what it needs to be able to operate at peak performance, that also changes. So how you fuel your body in the 30s may not be the best way to fuel your body in the 40s, 50s, and 60s plus. So this program, this book, takes every decade, starting in your 30s. It breaks down for your decade, whichever decade you're in, it tells you these are your top 10 nutrients for your decade. These are illnesses that are lurking in your decade you need to be careful of. These are exercises that best suit you during this particular decade. For example, a 30-year-old does a certain type of exercise that may not be the best kind of exercise for someone in their 50s and 60s. It doesn't mean that 50s and 60s shouldn't be exercising. In fact, they should be exercising a tremendous amount, but it means that the type of exercise that you do should be different. What are your top numbers, your top 10 numbers that you should know? Blood pressure, cholesterol, calcium for your decade.
In the 60s, when I was a kid, and into the 70s too, I'm remembering movies and books touting the fountain of youth and planting to me the seed that we need to find this. Of course, there isn't perhaps quite that thing. You can't go find a fountain, literally. But is there a dissonance between the idea of defying age and celebrating aging?
Great question. First of all, Ponce de Leon was looking for the fountain of youth and did not find it, the great explorer. But from a symbolic standpoint, when we talk about the fountain of youth, I believe there is a fountain of youth. There's not a physical fountain, but I believe that the fountain of youth is food and exercise. And I think that when we treat our bodies well, that is via movement and that is via the food that we consume, then we can actually find the fountain of youth. I am 55 years old. I do not feel 55. I feel like I'm 30. And I can tell you from a physical standpoint, I can do more than what most 30-year-olds can do. I can lift more weight. I can run longer. I can run faster. I can still dunk a basketball at 55. So I feel like I am a living testament that aging is not a resignation to physical impairments or physical maladies, to withdrawing yourself from activities you've enjoyed for your whole life. I think that aging is a process by which we have to figure out as we get older, chronologically and biologically, how do we still maximize our life and enjoy the things that we have been enjoying? And the purpose of Eat Your Age is to say to readers that growing old, if you're lucky, is inevitable, but feeling old is not. And that is the mindset I'm trying to instill with this book. The old perspective that, well, I'm getting old, which means, I'm going to have joint arthritis. I'm going to be walking on a cane. I'm not going to be able to have fun doing things like hiking or skiing. That is not true. So what I'm trying to do with Eat Your Age is to get people to have a 180-degree flip about their perspective of what it means to age.
I love that answer. I can relate in so many ways to that. I don't feel my age. Occasionally, I'm told I don't look my age. I can also beat out people way younger than me doing a lot of things. And I don't go to a gym. I don't like gyms. So I've just found so many other ways to exercise and work on keeping myself in shape. But when we talk about getting older, we have to consider some other things too that are happening, especially for a good portion of the population. You're not necessarily bringing in the kind of income you once brought in that would even allow you to comfortably go to a gym or have a trainer coming to you. And you also may not be eating the way you once did because you're counting your pennies. Now, keeping that in mind, what can people do to still eat nutritiously while on a budget?
I love this question. I believe that eating healthy food should not be expensive and it should not be complicated. And unfortunately, there have been too many barriers in this country to people who would like to take advantage of healthy foods, but can't afford it or don't know where to get it or don't have places to get it. So I created a book that's a companion book to Eat Your Age, and it's called the Eat Your Age Official Recipe Book. The idea behind this recipe book is I want people to be able to eat and consume healthy, tasty food. And most of these servings, it's about $4. It costs $4. For example, on page 73 is the black bean and sweet potato taco. It's about $3 a taco. It makes 8. It's $3. You can feed your family with this. And so the idea is that people have to understand that eating healthy does not have to be expensive. You just need to know what are healthy ingredients, how to buy those ingredients, and how to combine them so that they're tasty. Because the last thing people want to do, I've learned, Sheila, well, they're willing to eat healthy food, but if it tastes bland or it doesn't register, they won't eat it. So what I'm trying to do with my official recipe book is I'm trying to get people to try different recipes, and therefore they're going to love the herbs and the spices. You can take a piece of salmon, which is my favorite fish, full of omega-3 fatty acids, and you can cook it 100 different ways, and it can taste different each time. That's the idea about being able to eat on a budget, but also having tasty food that's healthy.
If you're on medication, how do you talk to your doctor about foods and beverages?
There's some good news and bad news to this. The good news is that more doctors now, unlike when I was training, more doctors are now more aware and more knowledgeable about nutrition, beverages, and food. In the old days, when I was training, doctors knew nothing about nutrition, nothing. And that was problematic because the doctor would say, you need to lose weight, or you have high blood pressure. You have to eat better. Okay, so what do I do to eat better? They didn't have an answer. Stay away from fried foods. Well, duh. I mean, anyone in third grade can tell you stay away from fried foods. Patients and citizens and people were looking for specific answers. What types of foods do I need? What quantities of foods do I need? How do I combat high cholesterol, high blood pressure? What if I'm pre-diabetic? What do I eat now? What do I take away? All these questions doctors didn't have answers to, but now they do. And I encourage patients, even though I know doctor visits are very short these days, but I really encourage patients to go to their doctors informed with as much knowledge as possible and ask very specific questions. If your doctor says to you, for example, that your hemoglobin A1C, which is a blood test that looks at your blood sugar control over the last 3 months, if your doctor says your hemoglobin A1C is up and you are pre-diabetic, you should be able to ask your doctor, okay, I'm pre-diabetic, so what foods do I need to stay away from? What food should I increase? For example, you should be eating more whole grains. You should be eating more fibers. These help stabilize your blood sugars and your insulin levels. So I think that patients now need to challenge, I said it in a good way, challenge their doctors to give them appropriate answers. And if the doctors don't have it, it's okay for your doctor to say, I don't know, but then say to your doctor, where can you refer me to an expert who can help me with this information? This kind of research, this kind of vigilance about acquiring the knowledge is critical as we age.
We're going to take a brief break to hear how one online fitness class is doing more than just helping people get back in shape. It's transforming participants' lives. I'm talking about Morning Stretch, one of Senior Planet's most popular online offerings. 5 years after launching at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, the class is going stronger than ever. Every morning, Monday through Friday, a robust community of more than 800 people meet online to stretch, meditate, and talk about their lives. Here's Cass, the Senior Planet trainer who teaches Morning Stretch, on how the class grew from a traditional exercise class into the robust, tight-knit online community it is today.
Morning Stretch is on its 5th anniversary. We started with a small group of 50 people and then grew to 100, 150. They began to like what they were doing, the exercise, the breathing, the affirmations. And of course, at the end of the session, they felt very gratified, and we hung out with them a bit so they can share their experiences and tell us a little bit about their life. As time went on, people were giving their own testimonials about how their health has gotten better. The doctors said, what are you doing? You're much better than you were before. Whatever you're doing, continue doing it. And, it's because they've been very committed to coming to Morning Stretch.
We stopped by one of the post-workout discussions recently to ask Morning Stretch participants about the community and what makes it so special. Here's some of what we heard.
Oh my goodness, the camaraderie between people from all over the world. Everyone is wise and knowledgeable and helpful and compassionate. And that, along with the exercise, is the most beautiful thing we could ever have during COVID. And then it keeps going afterwards. I mean, a couple of days ago, we had like over 860 people. It's unbelievable. It's great for me, for my mind, my soul, and my spirit. So thank you.
Family is not about blood. It's about who is willing to hold your hand when you need it the most. And that's what you all are to me. And that's what you all have done for me. You are my family.
We used to wake up and run. This one is doing that. We got a to-do list and that. But now we start the day together. We are more synchronized. Our friendship as well as our marriage has improved because of this class. And the sense of community, the sense of I belong somewhere.
So now we've had people in Maryland meet in person, in New York, in Boston. On the West Coast, a few of us have met with one another. People who are visiting different cities have met with one another.
It's opened up a brand new world for me. As being a senior, it's good to be able to communicate afterwards with other seniors who have been through and understand the things that we go through without being apologetic about it. It is what it is. Work with it.
It touches every part of my body, and I always feel better after I do it. And the community is just so wonderful. The back and forth, the conversation, the questions, it feels like a family. And I'm really grateful that we have this class.
If you're interested in trying it yourself, Morning Stretch is offered Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. For more information on how to join, visit seniorplanet.org/fitness. And now, back to my interview with Dr. Ian Smith. You know, that darn food pyramid that I remember learning as a kid, I don't believe changed from the time I was really little and learning to read and the time I graduated from college. And now it seems that the food pyramid is changing, at least annually. So how do we, as we age into our 60s and 70s and 80s, how do we really make sense of that and understand as an individual what our nutritional needs are? What recommendations might you make in helping us in that regard?
The food pyramid changes because our knowledge about food ingredients and preparation of these ingredients, that changes. So it's actually a good thing that the food pyramid is not static, but it is dynamic. There are some things, however, that remain pretty consistent with the food pyramid. Eating less fats, unhealthy fats, and eating, less sugars, eating more whole grains, eating more fruits and vegetables. These are things that have been around for a long time and they should not change. The science has continued to show that these are critical for us. But if someone said to me, as someone ages, and once again, in the book, I break down what you mostly need in your 50s and 60s plus. But if someone said to me, choose 3 things that as we age becomes really important. The first thing would be protein. Not enough aging Americans are consuming enough protein. Protein is extremely important for many things, but including being able to maintain our muscle mass. Too many Americans age with the idea that they don't need muscles, that it is normal to lose your muscles and to become flabby. And that is absolutely not the truth. It is absolutely important and critical that not only do we maintain our muscle mass as we age, we actually need to grow our muscle mass as we age because muscles are extremely protective. They're protective for our joints. They are protective against falling, instability, and they also are important for our ability to increase our metabolism. So muscle mass is important. Now, I'm not saying you have to go to a gym for 2 hours a day to get muscle mass, but what I'm saying is you need protein to build muscle, okay? Number 2, fiber. Not enough aging Americans are consuming enough fiber. You see all these commercials for fiber supplements, and the reason why you see these commercials for fiber supplements is because we're not eating enough of it. But you don't need fiber supplements, if you're getting it through your diet. There's tons of fiber in your diet. The average person should be eating between 20 to 35 grams of fiber a day, depending on your specific age. In the book, Eat Your Age, I let you know what the current recommendation is for fiber consumption. But we need fiber for many reasons, including keeping your gut, your gastrointestinal health healthy, and keep it moving. As you know, Sheila, as we age, we increase our chances of having constipation, which is very uncomfortable. Eating more fiber helps clean our system out. It keeps us more regular. So that's number 2. The third thing I would say is calcium. Calcium is extremely important for good teeth and good bones. And as we age, our bones become thinner naturally. But it doesn't mean that we have to have osteoporosis, which is severe thinning of the bones. The way to prevent it is to increase your intake of calcium, and calcium can be found in things other than dairy. Calcium can be found in vegetables too, by the way, and fruits. But increasing our calcium, but also increasing the amount of physical exercise. By that, I mean your bones get more dense. They get rebuilt stronger when you actually damage them. That's how bones work. You have to damage bones to make them come back stronger. And so exercises that have pounding, walking, jumping, running, lifting weights, anything that is going to have pounding to it is actually good for your bones. Whereas exercises like swimming is good for you, don't get me wrong, but as far as helping your bones, that doesn't help your bones because there's no stress on your bones. So those are the three things I would say. I think protein, fiber, and calcium, for me, are the triumvirate of things that we must consume in proper quantities as we age.
Same token, what should we be having less of?
Let me give you three just to match the other three. There are more than three, but let me give you three. We need to eat less red meat. Red meat is not only bad for the environment, for sure, but it's also bad for our systems. Too much red meat is just, as we age, it becomes more difficult to process red meat, and it's just not good for us. There are other kind of things like nitrosamines, which are involved in cooking red meat, that can be carcinogenic, that is cancer causing. And so red meat, as we age, is one of those things that you should, if you can't eliminate it completely, fine, but you should definitely reduce it to no more than 1 to 2 servings per week at the most. Number two, sugar. Sugar is killing this country. We are consuming too much sugar in drinks and too much sugar through treats. In fact, a new study has shown that even though there is sugar in treats and drinks, that the liquid sugars, those sugary drinks, tend to have an even greater negative impact on our health. And so really try to avoid the sodas and the syrups and all these other things that have this high added sugar content. So that's number two. And then number three, I would say, is try to stay away from saturated fats. There are two major types of fats we talk about: saturated and unsaturated. Unsaturated fat is the good type of fat. Monounsaturated, like olive oil. Polyunsaturated. When you see the word unsaturated, good. When you see the word saturated, or even see the word trans fats, you definitely want to avoid trans fats. But when you see those fats, those are fats you want to keep out of your diet. Trans fats, no trans fats. Saturated fats, you're going to consume sometimes, but you want to minimize that. How can you tell, Sheila? You have to be a very simple food detective. Turn your package over and look at the label and look for the type of fat that's in there. It's not very difficult. In the book, Eat Your Age, I try to help people understand how to do that. But those are the three things I would say that as we age, we really need to reduce, if not almost eliminate from our diet.
Give us just a few tips along the same lines in regard to snacking, please.
Snacking is so critical. I'm a big fan of snacking, but unfortunately, we in America snack non-strategically. And this is what I mean. Snacking is not meant to be a meal. It's meant to be a bridge between meals. And so the amount of calories you consume in a snack should not be the same amount of calories that you consume in a meal. And that's what a lot of people are mistakenly doing. A snack should be no more than 200 calories. I prefer about 150 calories or less. What I call strategic snacking, what strategic snacking will do for you is a couple of things. One, it will prevent you from over consuming calories when your meal actually comes. So if you go too long without eating anything because you think you're, saving, then when you finally sit down to a meal, you're consuming 12, 14, 1,500 calories at one meal because you're so hungry. So snacking allows you to take that hunger down a little bit, reduce the appetite. So when you do finally sit down to a meal, you're not over consuming. The other thing snacking does is snacking makes you feel full longer. And it allows you to keep your insulin levels, your insulin hormone levels at a more static, more even pace. So strategic snacking to me says high calorie, high fat snacks are not smart. You want to have snacks that have some type of whole grain in it, that have antioxidants in it, okay, and that have fiber. Those are the ideal snacks. Now, Sheila, listen, I love chocolate chip cookies as much as anybody else. I am not advocating that people eat perfectly. I don't eat perfectly. No one's ever going to eat perfectly. What I'm saying is this: if you can eat healthier 70% of the time, you're going to do good. 30% of the time, whatever you want. Have fun, go for it. But if 70% of the time you're eating healthier, it is going to benefit you tremendously. If you look at your plate, 3/4 of your plate should be fruits and vegetables and healthy foods. That's a way of kind of looking at it. Doing almost everything in moderation, I think, is the way to go. Food is fun. Food is important. It's sustenance. But remember, food is our fuel. And we need to think about food, not just about celebrating with food, but also how we can use that fuel to better enhance what we're trying to do in our life.
And anything you would like to add that I haven't thought to ask about?
If we are lucky enough to get into our 60s and 70s and 80s, we have to have a mindset that these are years of opportunity, that these are not years of decline, that these are not years to withdraw, that these are years to continue to explore. Life has seasons, and every season brings joys and challenges, but you have to embrace the season that you're in and don't pretend like you're in another season. Enjoy the season. And I think that we will get much more out of life as we age if we acknowledge it, we embrace it, and we try to engage. Too many people as they age isolate themselves. They withdraw from activities. And study after study has shown that people who remain more engaged, who have a better support system, who remain as independent as possible, as long as possible, have not only a longer life, but a higher quality of life.
How can older adults use technology to better improve nutrition and exercise routines?
There is so much available technologically now. You have apps that can count your calories. You have apps that can count your steps. You have apps that can design meal plans for you. I mean, there's so much out there, and a lot of it, wonderfully, is in the free space. So it's unpaid. So if you want to pay a little bit for some, it's fine. But I think that as we age, if we use these apps out there to allow ourselves to be able to keep track of what we're eating, to make suggestions of what we're eating, there are apps, you say, I want to lose 15 pounds. What do you suggest I eat? I want to gain 15 pounds because some people actually need to gain weight as they get older. What do I do? And so I think that apps and technology are really important for that. Let me also say, by the way, that I think wearable devices are important as we age. There was he was about 55 years old when he was wearing a wearable device. He is one of the local TV stage directors. And luckily his wearable device, he was feeling something different going on in his chest. And the wearable device recorded that he was in what's called atrial fibrillation, which is a very dangerous abnormal heart rhythm. Because of the device detected it, it was AFib, we call it. He went to his doctor immediately, and he actually had intervention that saved his life. But that is the beauty of technology. There's so many things that we can do now with technology that before you'd have to go to your doctor every single time to see if something's going on. Now you can look at your blood pressure. You can look at your heart rate, right? You can look at your blood sugar levels now with certain devices. I think we should take advantage of all these devices that are available to us if they're affordable, of course.
Yeah, I love those. Use them myself. Can you recommend an app or two specifically that we might turn to for the nutrition or exercise routines, in addition to, of course, what you already told us about yours?
There's so many good ones that are out there. I think it's better to start with the resources, like a Mayo Clinic is a great resource. If you go to these websites, a lot of these websites can then connect you to apps. So Cleveland Clinic, Mayo Clinic, some governmental sites are really good. I think that people should go to reputable medical websites. And then from there are different apps that they can learn about, that they can download. Because the key here is credibility. One thing you have to be careful of, even though technology is great, we know that there are a lot of disreputable sources, unfortunately, on the internet and on social media, and people have to be careful of that. So always start with a place that is extremely credible, and they can then link you to these types of other resources.
We sometimes like to ask our guests, what does aging with attitude mean to you? What's your answer, Ian?
That I'm not going to slow down, that I'm going to be as tough and competitive and happy and as assertive and ambitious as I was in my 20s and 30s. That age to me is literally just something that's on a calendar. But as far as how I move and how I think, it doesn't register in my life at all. I do what I feel like I want to do. I still dream the way I want to dream, and I'm going to keep going as long as I can and not let anything restrict me.
Thank you so much for this conversation. It's been fantastic.
I enjoyed it tremendously. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to Aging Rewired, a podcast by Senior Planet from AARP. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends and family. If you'd like to learn more about Senior Planet's free technology classes, resources, and online community, visit seniorplanet.org or call our toll-free hotline at 888-713-3495. Until next time, I'm Sheila Solomon, and this is Aging Rewired.